Hi, I'm Trisha from Club Scrap. Today's project is from Club Scrap's Succulents collection, and this was a little project included in the deluxe kit, and it's basically a handmade box. You make the lid and the base, and we've provided all the decorative elements that you need to make the box. And then when you open it up, out comes a really adorable little project made with pieces of heavyweight mat board, and it's basically a Jacob's ladder. So if you hold it, the pieces do flow down. I'm probably hard to see in this kind of small space, but it functions just like maybe the childhood toy that you remember called the Jacob's ladder. So it's made with papers, ribbon, mat boards, and a few simple tools. I think you're gonna love this, so let's get started. Your kit will come with several different elements. Inside the bag, you'll find a whole bunch of mat boards and then some satin ribbon in great, impressive lengths, which is a key component to making the Jacob's ladder. Then you'll also have 2 sheets of paper that are rectangular in shape, one dark green and one wine color, and those will be trimmed into panels. The 2 squares, which are one is smaller than the other, those will be the base and the lid of your box, and those need to be set aside to be scored. Now, if you receive the entire Club Scrap Deluxe kit, your sheet of printed cut parts will be found right inside the bag with all of your other kit papers. We thought that would be the safest place to put that piece of paper so it wouldn't get damaged in transit. If you purchase this kit as a separate kit, it will all be in one package. All right, so one of the first things you'll need to do is just follow your normal procedure of trimming cut parts apart, which involves checking for those registration marks that you'll find, intersecting each art item, and then going ahead and inserting it into the trimmer and separating each element according to those cut apart registration marks. So go ahead and do that. And we've also set everything in a good order for you to make this as easy as possible. Be extra careful that you don't go through any intersecting artwork, and rotate as much as needed. So when I am doing a smaller object, I just bring the piece midway down on the trimmer, and that way it's a little closer to my eyeballs, and I can see I have it level here with this inch line going across the middle, and it just makes my trimming job a little bit easier. So even for something as small as this, my large Fiskars guillotine really does the job. Our next task is to trim these into 3 1/4 inch squares. So we'll do that assembly line style. Let's start by cutting at 3 1/4 on the vertical. 3 1/4. And then stack these 2 strips on top of each other, place them horizontally into the trimmer, and cut at 6 1/2 and 3 1/4. And now you have 6 squares that will nest perfectly with the cut parts that we gave you that are 3 by 3. By doing it this way, it saves us a lot of collating time. Poor Deb, right? Because even just this project alone was a huge collating project. But it also makes sure that you have the quantity of items that you need, much less likely to have an error that way. All right, this is vertically at 3 1/4 again. And so the same thing, stack those 2 pieces in half, or on top of each other, and trim at 6 1/2 and 3 1/4. Next up is scoring. If you look at the difference between the box base and the lid, you'll notice that the lid is shorter than the box. And so when you have these 2 pieces of paper, let's take the largest one, that's going to be the base, and we'll score that first. Measurements for scoring are pretty easy. It's just 1 and 2 inches from each edge. Rather than giving you multiple numbers of different varying difficulty, it's just easy to rotate and score at 1 and 2. 1 and 2. Okay. Oh, we got one more side. Next, take the smaller piece, which is your box lid. You'll score this at 3/4 and 1 1/2 from each outside edge. 3/4, 1 1/2. All right, so now I have my lid and my base all scored, ready for preparation. I'll set this aside. We'll use the scissors to create some tabs. This is a basic box construction. I do this all the time. In fact, I just used the same construction technique to make a box that will hold A2 envelopes and your standard size greeting cards. And that's a formula. Keep that handy because it's great for gift giving, you know, at the end of the year for teachers' gifts and so on. So I'm basically just cutting along the innermost score line and stopping when I reach the second horizontal score to remove a small dart, and then creating a tab and removing the score line to clear my corner. I'll have an illustration for this available to you as well, but this is an extremely basic box style construction. It makes a good sturdy box with a double thickness on the wall. Plus it helps that we're using Club Scrap's 80-pound cover cardstock. So our goal is to have 4 tabs and 4 flaps. Then I'll repeat, as long as I have my scissors out, I'll do the same thing here. And when I'm making these darts, I'm essentially removing the score line itself. And that allows that paper to fold easily. Don't make your angles too big because we want to have a nice solid coverage on our walls. When you rotate, make sure you rotate 180 degrees. Box base, box lid. Okay, let's make the box lid to start. I like to train my paper a little bit, just fold along those prepared score lines. I don't know what I would do without my scoreboard, to be honest. Oh, this just makes life so much easier. Then I'll apply adhesive to the 4 longest outer tabs. Now here's an important thing. Place your piece of paper so that the tabs are running north and south, okay? And then fold these walls in over on themselves. Then take the tabs, fold them upward and then inward. And then you can see the side walls of the box are forming. Then this flap right here goes up and over the tabs. And because it has adhesive, the whole thing will hold itself together and the walls have a nice strong double thickness. Then rotate the item, tuck in your tabs, and bring that sidewall up and over. So it's sandwiching the tabs in between. And now you have a nice lid. You do the same exact type of thing for the base. So now I have a box that will perfectly hold my Jacob's ladder when it's finished. Speaking of, let's get started with that Jacob's ladder. All right, let's count out 6 boards. And then the other pile, there will be 6 boards. And then remember, we have 6 green panels and we have 6 wine colored panels. What you'll do is apply adhesive to each panel and nest it onto only one side of the board. So you'll have 6 boards with just 1 green panel on it on the front and 6 boards with just 1 wine panel, and keep those in 2 separate piles. Now we have all of our boards have at least one or the other colored paper centered onto the boards, and what we're going to do is work now just with the green ones and keep these in a separate pile. Let's take 3 of the green nested boards and turn them plain side up. And what you need for this is a ruler. I prefer that you use a grid ruler for this task because it's going to be the most accurate way to, and fastest way to do this. I love efficiency, so the grid ruler helps me be efficient. Now there's this is definitely a page out of a quilter's book, really, the way this ruler works. But what we need to do is add a line 1/2 inch from the bottom and top edges of each of these boards and through the center. Now, being that it's a 3.5 inch board, our line will need to be at 1 3/4 inches. So with my grid ruler, I'm going to line up these 3 boards so I can do 3 at once. If I go up to the first solid line on my ruler, that's 1/4 inch, 1/2 inch. If I go up to the boldest line here, that's 1 inch. There's 1 1/2, and here's 1 3/4. All I need to do is line up that 1 3/4 inch line with the bottom edge of my boards. And now I know I'm sent. Oop, that one went flying. I guess I didn't have enough pressure on that guy. Press firmly across all of the boards. Now I have a center line, okay? So I need to do the same thing, a 1/2 inch from the bottom edge. So there I am at a 1/2 inch. Press on all 3 of my boards. If you want to do it one at a time, that's fine. It just is a little time investment. And then I'm resting the boards against the ruler to make sure they're nice and straight. And then we'll draw them from the 1/2 inch down from the top edge as well. Pardon my arm. Okay, so here I have 3 lines. I have gone ahead and done the other 3 boards as well. Let's take my boards with the lines, put them on one pile, and again the wine boards will be on the other pile. So these color differentiations help us keep everything straight during the assembly. It's time for ribbon and adhesive. Now I used Club Scraps bookbinding glue in a needle tip applicator for this, and it really worked well. You could also use your ATG, score tape, some kind of a tape, because we'll be attaching ribbons to these lines to help create our Jacob's ladder. Now, as I mentioned, there's a lot of ribbon involved. What we need are this piece divided into thirds. What we need are 40-inch lengths, basically. So with my ruler, I'll go 10, 20, 30, 40. All right, then I'll fold this and then fold it into thirds. And yes, all my pieces are the same length, so it's a good way to do it. And then I'll just cut it at those 2 folded edges. And they're mostly equal. Okay, so we can set aside our ruler, and let's take one board with the lines on it. So it's green on one side, lines on the other. And you have to follow these steps very carefully, or you end up making what I lovingly call a coaster. And I would like to add at this point that in the process of trying to make the prototype and sample of this project, I made several coasters. Oh. Good news was I could fix it. I was able to fix it. Okay, so I'm going to take a ribbon and I'm going to place it centered over that line that I drew. I've got it satin side up. It's really not going to matter. It's going from left to right. I'm going to repeat that with another piece of ribbon. It will go trailing off to the right. If you go right to left, it doesn't matter. You have to be consistent each time. Do it with me. And then the other piece, the center piece, I'll place along the center line, and I'll have that ribbon trailing from right to left. Okay? Now I'm going to make a little sandwich, and every single ribbon gets a sandwich. So I'll take the wine covered board, and I'll put adhesive on the back of that. I'm just going to use my ATG for this. And then sandwich the ribbon between the board. This next move is what actually creates our function of our Jacob's ladder. So this ribbon that's trailing to the right on the top here, I'm going to flip it. I'm going to do the same for the next ribbon trailing from the right. I'm flipping that to the left. And the ribbon that was trailing left from the center, I'm going to flip it, so now it's trailing right. Now this is a very important step. Every single time you add a board, you have to do that ribbon flip. So now I'm going to just, without adding adhesive, place one of my green marked boards on top of the ribbon. Don't worry about any slack that's in the ribbon at this point. You just want to place it on there. We don't want adhesive, or then again you'll have a coaster. I'll just put a little line of our bookbinding glue onto the guideline, and we're going to do the ribbon flip. So, oh, the flying ribbon flip. Oopsie there. No problem. Get that glue out of the way. All right, so carefully, I'll take the ribbon trailing from right over to the left and just press it onto the bookbinding glue. Ribbon trailing from the left will be flipped over to the right. those of you who have been around Club Scrap for a long time may remember this class that you took with Terry Zwicker. She taught the Jacob's Ladder. It was really fun. And some people made coasters here and there, but we got it all fixed up. And that's the thing too, that when I really forgot to do the ribbon flip, it was no problem. I was able to fix it. So we've just finished putting our adhesive on the guideline. So now it's time for another wine board. So I'll add adhesive to this and center it on my stack. Okay, what do we do next? We just added a board. That means we must flip the ribbons. So going right goes to left, right goes to left, left goes to right. Next, since I just finished with a wine, I'm going to add the green with the guidelines facing up and repeat. So glue, then you'll add do your flip, and then add your board. As the ribbon gets shorter and shorter, it gets a little easier to work with. And the guidelines just help to keep it straight. I would say too, don't let your ribbon get too tight, or the Jacob's Ladder functionality tends to be a little stiff. Just finished flipping. Now it's time for a wine panel. And then next, it will be time to flip again. Don't add the green without flipping, okay? That's the mistake that I made. Don't be like me. Here we have our coaster. No, it's our Jacob's Ladder. It's not a coaster. And our final panel is being attached. And before I do that, I'll just trim the small amount of excess ribbon that's left so it doesn't peek beyond the edge of the panel. And we have one last wine-colored panel to conceal our final 3 pieces of ribbon. And at this point, you can test the functionality and then pat yourself on the back. Hopefully it works. Let's see. Yep, it does work. Works very well, I might add, except right here it's just getting hung up a little bit. As you work with it too, it definitely increases in its flexibility. All right, so now in my mind's eye, I believe the functionality of the Jacob's Ladder is vertical rather than horizontal. So the artwork that we provided for you includes like an orientation actually with guidelines for ribbons. For the front of my book, I chose to use a double nested panel, and I'm choosing the wine colored paper to be the top of my book. So to me, this is right side up so that it opens accordingly, okay? So then I'll double this up here. Maybe I could do a pop dot or something. That would be cute, but I don't have that handy. So it nests right in there really sweetly. Love grows here. And then for decorating the remaining panels, you can decide from the journaling images, the images that just have florals or whatever on them, the quotes, anything like that. As you play with the book, the ribbons will switch from being single to double. So just don't let that worry about you. Simply focus on it being vertical and orientation. Now on the other side of the book, you'll want to flip this down and extend the book outward, and then fill in your artwork so that it's right side up at this angle. And I learned this just by assembling my first book. If you're hesitant about which way to go when you're doing your Jacob's Ladder, just do some test runs and maybe use a temporary adhesive until you're confident you have the pieces where you want them to go in the orientation you want them to be in. So those are the main 12 panels. For the outside lid of the box, we have a cut apart that's designed to nest perfectly onto the lid. And then we also have these thin little strips that are designed to nest perfectly onto the outside lip of the box lid. You'll have a few extra little captioning cut aparts that those can be used at your discretion once you add photos or whatever you would like to add to your little book. It really is a fun thing to not only do for yourself, but maybe even get a couple of references together and everybody can make one. And then maybe you'll have one set of really nice coasters if something doesn't go according to plan. Have fun with us. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel, and if you're not already a subscriber of Club Scrap, we'd love to have you join us. Thanks for tuning in.